Rahul here for Punch Out Boxing. Delighted to be here with Russ Amber here at the press conference, final press conference. Usyk v Dubois, from Alexander's point of view, he's been here, done it. This is run-of-the-mill stuff for him. Are you going to be in Alexander's corner?
Yeah, of course. Of
Yeah.
course, I'll be in the corner. I was in camp. I'll be in the corner. I just have to say what I've said in every interview I've had up this point. I just think that you guys are not giving Dubois the credit he deserves. And I think as a result, nobody's going to give Usyk the credit he deserves in beating a good guy. I think everyone's expecting this to be a mere formality and that he's got no chance, blah, 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 he's going to win and move on to the next one. And I think that's very unfair to Usyk, who is prepared extremely hard to take on a very dangerous fighter in Dubois, a big guy who can punch, a young guy who's got nothing to lose, no pressure. All you guys have made him out going to get beat already, so he's got nothing to lose. And I think it's a little unfair. I think he's a dangerous fight. And I'm glad Usyk is the type of character that he is, that he took it seriously on who Dubois was to prepare for that, because I think Dubois is coming to fight.
He is indeed. Well, I just want to say, I'm picking Daniel, but I always pick my hometown
Okay.
guys.
Well, yeah, a lot of you Brits do, right? Yeah, pick the Brit. That's what it is. Yeah.
I mean, there's an interesting new dynamic, though. James Ali Bashir, he knows Alexander probably better than anyone outside Alexander's current team. Could you get Daniel to show something that Alexander hasn't seen
Maybe,
before?
maybe he can. I don't know if that's something I ever would have done, but James is cool with it, and if he thinks he can bring something to Daniel, well, good. That's what he's trying to do, and I think Daniel is going to do everything he can to cause this upset. And like I've said before in other interviews I've done, in every sport there's always going to be a favorite and an underdog, but the underdogs fight back, and they don't just all lay down. And I don't think Daniel Dubois is one that's going to lay down. I think he's coming to fight.
Yeah, I mean, I asked James about this. There's obviously the size factor, youth factor. This is actually the first young heavyweight Alexander's fought. Sometimes that can work against youth because of recklessness and inexperience. But at the same time, close to 40 years, they start to add up.
Sure
Could
do.
be a factor.
That's why I say, don't count this guy out. He'll come to fight. I think you have to make Usyk the favorite. I think you could see that based on the performance. Another thing you can add to that, he hasn't fought in a year. Usyk hasn't fought since Saudi this time last year. So there's a lot of factors that go into that, which is why I think Dubois is here, and he's smart with taking the fight, and then he's coming to fight.
What about the injury factor? James says that all those years, the 300 plus amateur fights. I mean, Tyson Fury certainly said this when I spoke to him last time he fought. Yeah, he says that there's a lot of mileage on Alexander.
You should have given me better credibility than to mention what Tyson Fury had to say. I don't give a shit. He can get in the ring with him. Get in the ring. That's what everyone wants to see. So get in the ring with the guy. Talk is cheap from the outside. He's ready to fight you. You have the belt. Make the fight.
You've been in this game a long time, I presume. You've seen the evolution of heavyweights. I just wonder, is this modern obsession with the super heavyweight size, is it misplaced because of the Klitschko era? Is Alexander actually still the ideal size for a heavyweight? Because as we saw against AJ, their gas tanks run down.
Well, you know what? I just think that we could look at the guys like the Klitschko's, like Lennox Lewis, legitimately big guys who can fight. There's just not a ton of them. It's just not a ton of them. The stature certainly has changed, the size, but Usyk is like, he's the heavyweight size we've been accustomed to seeing, and they can perform with the big guys. But it takes a great amount of skill to be able to do that. And sometimes we're not finding that as much. The depth in the heavyweight division isn't as much as it used to be in the past. So there are less guys 6'3", 225 that can really fight. There's less guys like that, So we're going to the big guys, and the big guys are whoever bludgeons the other one first, is the ones who are rising to the top. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe he is the perfect size, but I think as far as the big super heavyweight guys go, when you talk about the real legit guys who were big and could fight, Fury is another one. The big guy who can fight. Who legitimately can fight. There's not a ton of them, but the ones that are out there are always going to be problematic.
Yeah, I mean, Is that because of the decline in boxing in the US? The most very big men prefer to go to NBA or the NFL.
Man, maybe not NBA, but yeah, I think probably I think that USA boxing probably loses a lot of its big men to other sports. Canada loses it to hockey. Like all those guys playing in the NHL, had they started taking up boxing instead of hockey at that young age, they're prime big athletes, big men. Who knows what the kind of heavyweight you can do. So I don't know. I think there's probably just a decline in boxing all around. I think it's not just the heavyweight division. I think it's in every division that we don't see the depth or the quality that we used to see in the past. I think just the numbers dictate that on tournaments that are being held. Stars in the division, how deep divisions are. Where in the 70s and 80s, if you went to the light heavyweight division, everybody from 1 to 10 was a murderer. Like it was incredible. And now there are divisions where the champion sits alone atop, and there's not even a legitimate contender out there. So it goes in waves, but I don't think there's the quantity we used to have like we had in the past.
That's helped us Brits because you guys used to call us horizontal heavyweights.
No, that's not true. No, not true. But like the British program has excelled. From and I think a lot of that. I think that's a lot has to do with Audley Harrison's performance, and then Amir Khan's. Money got pushed into the program. The performance of the Brits in London in 2012, has ignited, in the UK, boxing is number one, and they're number one in the world in terms of number of fights, local rivalry, shows all over the country, busy. I mean, it's emerged as the number one boxing country in the world, as far as I'm concerned. Number one market.
Yeah, certainly for the market. Can't go to fights. The atmosphere is great.
100%. 100%.
Well, where does the money in boxing come from in America then? Because I presume during the Cold War there was a lot of investment in the amateur scene. Certainly Evander Holyfield said that. Now they're not so bothered about winning Olympic golds and beating the Russians anymore.
It's changed dramatically. The whole amateur scene has changed dramatically now. Became very political. Risk of canceling boxing in the Olympics, the corruption in the Olympics. So it's not in a good state as far as I'm concerned. Certainly not as was when I first got started in this game compared to what it is now.
It'd be sad if that great American tradition was to fade away.
Yeah, of course it would. But the one positive thing about it is that with the emergence of the countries that have opened up to where we never got to see pros come out of those countries, we're seeing it now, and the world has gotten bigger, and we've gotten a chance to see great fighters in Lomachenko and Usyk and Golovkin and all these guys that we never would have got to see before when it was still the Soviet Union. So, it's made it difficult for the fighters in the West to excel because the competition's a little stiffer. But, it can only be good that more and more guys are turning pro. We need that.
Indeed. Talking of guys from the former USSR, there's your guy, Artur Beterbiev. Toothache. Is that a reason to cancel a fight?
Well, it was more than just a toothache, but it wasn't just a toothache.
How do you think our boy Callum Smith does against him? He's put in a few impressive knockouts since moving up.
Yeah, it's a very dangerous fight. I think it's a very dangerous fight for both guys. I think it's without a doubt, both opponents. I mean, Callum fought Canelo. Canelo aside, it's going to be the best opponent he's fought, and Beterbiev, I think Callum is going to be the best opponent that Beterbiev has fought. I unfortunately am in a bad position that I work with both guys, so I've decided not to work with either one for this fight because of my friendship and my respect for them. I'm not going to choose a side on, so I'll just leave it there, and I'm going to be more nervous watching them fight, and I'm feeling bad for whoever loses, because they're both great guys.
Yeah, indeed. There's an off-key idea. If Artur becomes undisputed light heavyweight champ, could he move up to cruiserweight and revisit that Usyk amateur rivalry?
I don't know if Usyk will go back down to cruiserweight, but I think Beterbiev could certainly go to cruiserweight and win a world title in that division for sure. Mm-hmm. He's done it before. He's fought in heavyweight, which is the equivalent of cruiserweight in the amateurs. So I don't see why he can't do it. He certainly can punch hard enough to do so. Yeah. And I'd rather see him fight Bivol though.
Yeah. I think that's the one we all want.
Yeah.
Someone needs to get onto Maurizio and get rid of that insane political stance
Yeah,
he's taken forever.
that's another thing wrong with the sport. What are you gonna do?
Just finally on Saturday night, then give us final predictions. How do you think it goes?
I think it's going to be a fantastic fight. I think Usyk comes out on top and wins on a gallant effort from Daniel Dubois.
Brits, we love a heroic loser.
Well, listen, his future depends on his performance, not on his result, but on his performance. He's a young kid, but it depends on his performance. That's his future. He's playing on Saturday night.
All right. Well, Ross, always a pleasure.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Look forward to Saturday night.
Thank you.